I'm Shain, a New York Jewish mom who had the audacity in 1993 to continue a geriatric pregnancy and give birth at the age of 46.
And I'm Sarah, the result of that pregnancy. 32 years later, I'm currently a practicing therapist. Though Shain is often thought to be my grandmother, she's still my mom, and this is Listen to My Mother,
a podcast where we answer your real-life questions with 2 points of view, one rooted in motherly instinct,
and one rooted in clinical training.
You'll get guidance, support, maybe a little tough love, but always from the heart.
And if you'd like us to answer your question on air, head to the link in our show notes and send it our way. We want to hear any questions you have.
And now it's time to
Listen to My Mother.
Hey there, babe.
Hi. You look not great.
Well, as you know, this has been a difficult week for me. I think we've said that a few times. This is a hard
This is something
time
else.
of life. Yeah, this is a new something. You know, hopefully we all have a heart friend, a soul friend, somebody who is your person and you're their person. And I have that person, but she's now in the hospital, not doing great, but I'm hoping things will move in a more positive direction. But I am her person in more ways than just being the soul friend that she is to me. I am her healthcare proxy. I am her trustee of her estate. I am the executor of her will. And things started to look really scary. So it has been a hard few days. I live 2.5 hours north of New York City, and she's in the hospital in New York City. I've been down twice, made the trip, went to see her. She's intubated, she's sedated. So the first time I went down and I told her I'm there was a slight smile. She tried to smile around the tube, so I knew she acknowledged somewhat that I was there. But then that was it. For all the hours that I went, there was no more communication between the two of us. And I went down again yesterday, drove down, sat there for 3 hours watching her sleep. She was so heavily sedated because they were going to do a couple of procedures and they needed her sedated. So I watched her sleep for 3 hours and then I drove 2.5 hours home. So this is hard. This is really difficult to watch somebody you love so much. But there's more than that that's going on for me because I'm responsible for taking care of everything that she owns, everything that she wills. If things go south, this is a big, big responsibility for me, and I am I'm not prepared. In my heart, in my head, in every way, I am not prepared to do so. My prayer, my hope is that this will move in a positive direction and slowly, because it has to be slow with what's going on, she will get better and better and better and she'll survive this. But my dilemma is in 2 days, I'm supposed to be leaving. And I'm the healthcare proxy. I'm the one that they call to do a procedure, to get permission. So I left a message with the nurse at the critical care unit that if the doctors need permission, if they're expecting something coming down the pike and they need permission from me, they've got to let me know before I get on a plane in 2 days with the idea that, am I really leaving? Am I really going? My family is waiting for me to come. And do I go? And if necessary, I can always come back. But it's this just unknown place right now that's causing a lot of anxiety. Plus the fact that I don't know if I'm coming or going. So there's this sense of paralysis as well as doing. I get in the car. Everybody's telling me, don't drive. Get a driver. I like driving. I can do it. I drove down. You know, you, Sarah, were nervous about my driving. It's dark, and
Well, I think that there's an important thing that we
wait a minute. Let me just say, called me old and feeble.
I did, but I think that there is an important thing that, like, a week ago, you totaled your car.
But that wasn't my fault. The deer fell from the sky right in front of my car, which it literally did.
Like 3 days later, you're driving a route that you've done hundreds of times before and ended up 45 minutes away from home.
When did I do that? I don't know.
You see, you don't even remember. You were going to get your hair cut, and you...
Oh, right. I ended up on the wrong road in my own neighborhood. I did. I don't know how that happened. Suddenly I was on a road and didn't know where I was.
Right.
Yes,
so this,
you're right.
This concern about your driving is not coming out of nowhere.
Right. You're right. You're right. But I have been... This business with my friend has really put my brain into... It's very, very taxed right now. I'm in overload. Because the rest of my life is going on. I have issues and stuff I have to take care of. I have a business. I have, I'm involved in many, many aspects of local life. And I have a list of things to do at the same time that this is going on that is using all my bandwidth. That's a new term I learned. But, yeah, so that's where I'm at. How you doing, kid?
Well, I'm also supposed to be getting on a plane in 2 days to go to the same place you're going. And if things aren't going to get better with your soul person, I don't want to get on the plane either. I'd rather go on a plane to New York to go see her. I mean, it's so interesting, I think, like, when you think about chosen family over blood family, and like that we are so lucky that our blood family is also people we like, and that also we have this chosen family too. We have these people who really are family regardless of any sort of DNA, and that's who, I mean, this person is family to all of us. And if like things aren't going to get better or potentially are going to get worse, I would rather go visit her than go see the family. The blood family.
Because they'll be there. They'll be there, hopefully for a very long time. But today's news was better.
Okay.
Today's news was better. They did a couple of procedures yesterday, and today it looks like we might, at least for the time being, moving into a better situation. I'm certainly not going to go into details. This is her private business. Mm-hmm. This is just talking about how I am dealing with it. So, as your sister usually says, I make it all about me. This time
make it all about you?
Yes, I'm making.
Well, that's where I get it from.
What, that you make it about you, or that I make it about me?
No, that I make it about me. I was with friends last night for a friend's birthday dinner, and we were talking about like kind of how every person, because someone else that was there, her birthday is next week, and she wants nothing. She wants no one to even pay attention to her birthday. She's like, just text me. I don't want to go do anything. Don't ask me to do anything to celebrate my birthday. And then the friend whose birthday it was like, I'm the opposite. My birthday is like really important to me. I want to do something. I want to spend it with friends. I want it to be marked in some way. And I was talking about how, like, yeah, I'm very similar. Like, 2 years ago, my birthday is April 18th, and on April 17th, I posted something on my Instagram story about my birthday, and so people started messaging me happy birthday, and I posted another story. I was like, look, I really appreciate all of the people that are saying happy birthday to me on the 17th, but I do expect you all to say it again on the 18th. And then my friend whose birthday it was yesterday was like, yeah, I'm not that bad. And that, like, at the time when I had posted that, another friend's partner had like seen it and said to my friend, I wish I loved myself as much as Sarah loved herself.
But loving Sarah is easy. We all do it so easily, so why not you too?
Well, just circling back to, okay, and now I know where I get it from, that I make everything about myself.
Well, when it comes to birthdays, so we'll segue away from my craziness and my anxiety and all of that. I like people to acknowledge my birthday on some level, happy. And that should be really the end of it, because my birthday was never really celebrated growing up. And it was used in a way that tainted it on some level. My birthday is 3 days before yours. You were my birthday present, and it was the best present I ever got because it was really, really, really mine. What happened as I was growing up, at some point, I wanted to play the piano. I really wanted to learn the piano. And at some point, my parents bought a piano. And it became not my piano. It was the piano all the kids in the neighborhood came and used to practice, to learn. So it really wasn't mine. It became like the community neighborhood piano. And somebody actually came in and took a pencil and banged the keys with a pencil and chipped all the ivory and made little hole, carve-outs.
Is this the piano that we have in the house?
That I have in my house now, because it is my piano. I reclaimed it. I keep it. It's out of tune. It's got
But that's
broken
the piano
keys.
That we had in Dad's house when I was growing up?
Yes, because I insisted. You bought it under my name. I'm keeping this piano. I don't play it, but I've got the piano because it was supposed to be mine. And then I was given for a birthday a turntable, one of those old turntables with the speakers. You could close them up and you could carry it around, and then you could open it up and move the speakers wide, and there were wires. It was back 100 years ago. So we would take it to the country with us, and it became the bungalow colonies, a former, that's where everybody played their records, on my little stereo thing that really wasn't mine. It was in my name. They bought it for my birthday, but then it was the community's thing. So that happened a lot as I was growing up. One year they gave me a typewriter. So what happened with the typewriter? I taught myself to type. I was very fast. Because I played the piano too fast, too. Everything was too fast, but I learned how to really be good on the typewriter. I could type 90 words a minute on a manual typewriter with no mistakes. So what happened? I became the neighborhood and the family. I typed everybody's papers. Right. It became, my job because I could do it to do everybody's papers. Anyway, so my birthday was like kind of tainted. I never got anything really personal. So I'm glad you really want to celebrate yours, because I love celebrating yours, because it was a great day for me. So
I also, for my 30th birthday, on the invitation it said in small print, "Gifts required." Don't come without an offering. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, this is all kind of a segue, both your friend and everything that's going on with that, and these kind of like stories from your childhood birthdays. I often talk about how no one's listening to this podcast. I think we maybe have 12 listeners, which is great. That's 12 more than I thought we would get.
Why do you think we only have 12? I meet so many people who say to me, I listen to your podcast. I love the repartee between you and your daughter, and
I'm either under exaggerating or something. I don't know exactly how many people are listening, because I do hear that also, but it's not like we have hundreds of thousands of listeners.
We're not viral.
We're not viral. Right. And that's fine, because that's not the point. That's not why we're doing this. And something I've been thinking about a lot recently is okay, when you're dead, I'll have hours and hours of our conversations. And that's one of the things that I like about getting all of these different random submissions about all these different issues is okay, 30 years down the line, if I have a question, potentially someone else has already asked you, and I can have your advice in recording. And that this is all it's a great thing to have for posterity.
I understand that, because I have old answering machines from my phone, where I have a message from my mother, a message from my father, a message from my mother-in-law, from my brother, that those machines, I have to figure out a way to save them so I can throw the machine away.
Right.
But those things are important to me.
Right, and I like this so much because it's more than just, hey, just give me a call back when you get this sort of thing. It's a very, like, it's you. It's so personal and much deeper. And I know that I'm going to really appreciate having these. Hopefully never, because you're supposed to be immortal, but...
Well, that's what I thought my friend would be. I gave her one order. Just one. And that was, don't die. So I'm still expecting that this will turn into a good direction. It will be okay in the long run. Still expecting that. So,
yeah. Me too. We've been really lucky for the last few times that we've recorded that we actually have had submissions, that there are enough people out here listening to us, that we got submissions and we had things to talk about. But I did get these books like months ago for whenever the next time we did not have a submission may be. And they're like a family keepsake journal. And one is called Mom, I Want to Hear Your Story. And the other is just called Mom's Story.
I just told you my birthday story.
Yes, and so now I have these two books, and I can just open them to a random page, and we can see what question we get, or we can go in order.
A random page.
Okay. Do you have any preference on which book? Mom, I Want to Hear Your Story. It's a paperback. Or Mom's Story, which is hardcover and gilded.
Oh, go with the paperback.
Okay. All right. I'm going to flip through the pages. You tell me when to stop. Ready?
Oh, Lordy.
Go.
Stop.
Okay.
I think you went one past when I said stop.
All right, I'll go back. Were your parents religious when you were growing up? How did they express their spiritual beliefs?
That's quite a question. Were they religious? I don't know how to define that, really, but I'll use a loose definition. They were not observant Jews, but they were traditional Jews. They didn't go to synagogue every Friday and Saturday. They went for the high holidays. They didn't light Shabbos candles every Friday, but they insisted that I should when I had a family because they wanted that to continue. And I remember just having an issue with them saying, why do you want me to do this? You never modeled this. Now you're going to lay this on, So there was some tension between us about what they expected from us and what they didn't. But part of that, just to bring it around, maybe we'll move on to a different question. But as Holocaust survivors, it was extremely important to them that we continue being Jews. They lost so many people. So it was totally on us to marry a Jew, to, date Jews, marry a Jew, have a Jewish household, have the children. If there's a boy, have a bris. If there's a girl, a baby naming. If, there would be a bar or bat mitzvah, there would be a Jewish wedding. There was a lot of pressure about what we were expected to do in that way. They showed their connection to the traditions of Judaism. And my mother, when you come to religion and what that really means, she totally, totally believed in God. What she would say was she has a tana, she has an issue with God that she is always demanding from God. You owe me this. You took my whole family away. You allowed that to happen. You owe me. And that was very strong in her. So is that a religious connection? I don't know. But that was what I watched her be in terms of, God, you owe me. I want this for my children. Make it happen. So she was very upset when, different parts of the family married, not Jewish, dated not Jewish, whatever.
Didn't have a bris when they had a son.
Didn't have a bris. So there were things that hurt her because she wanted this connection to... Everybody was murdered because they were Jewish. There was no other reason. It wasn't because they were blonde. It wasn't because they had long hair, short hair, long nails, whatever. They were murdered simply because they were Jewish. So for her, if that's why she lost her whole family, the connection to Judaism, it seems almost inverse, because many people did just the opposite. They hid their Jewishness. They changed their names. They made sure their kids didn't even recognize that they were Jewish. But that was not my mother's reaction. It was, this is who we are. I dare them to come after me again. It was, so that's what we were instilled with. Is that religious? I don't know.
I don't know, because I don't consider myself religious, but that, intensity about the Jewish identity, I do feel that.
Right. Judaism is not just a religion. It's a peoplehood. It's a nation. It's many more things, which is different than how other people view religion.
Right. For me, my Jewishness is cultural. It's ethnicity. And I tend to use the word Jewishness rather than Judaism, because Judaism, if I'm remembering correctly, the etymology of it is not even a Jewish word. It comes from, I think it's when the Greeks invaded and kind of took, don't quote me on this, I'm not a historian, but basically it came from the language of an invader in order to put the Jewish people into a box that made sense to them in terms of religion. And Judaism is not a Jewish word, because Judaism as a religion or as a people, it predates the modern concept of religion. So it can't fit into that box very neatly. It's more similar to native tribes that have a spiritual doctrine in addition to their tribal practices, that Judaism is more like that, where it's we are a people that have a spirituality, but it's not just about the spirituality. We're still a people even without that.
Okay, I think we've kind of done that question. You want to flip again?
Yeah, actually, I saw one in the other book when I was flipping through earlier that I want to ask, that I'm curious about. What did family mealtime look like when you were growing up?
Chaos. My parents had a grocery store, and the store was open, I believe, till 7 o'clock at night. So my father would stay at the store, and my mother would come home to give us dinner. So dinner was rushed. It was always rushed, and it was, I didn't even know my mother could cook, because what she made was broiled everything. It was fast. A piece of chicken went in the broiler. Vegetables were out of a can, because you could open the can, throw it in a pot, heat it up. So you had a piece of broiled chicken, but we ate well because we had a grocery store. She didn't sell meat. They didn't sell meat in the grocery store, but she'd run to the butcher. She'd have in the refrigerator even a piece of steak. In those days, you could have steak. And a steak, a lamb chop, a piece of chicken went in the broiler. A can opens up. The peas and carrots, oh, God, I hated those peas. I would only eat the carrots and, hope somebody else would eat the peas so my mother wouldn't get pissed that I was not eating the whole thing. But meals were rushed, and they were not social. It wasn't, let's sit around the table and talk as a family. My father wasn't there for the most part. I just remember my father would come home, and my mother would throw a steak. And it had to be kosher meat, by the way. We were not kosher, but it had to be kosher meat. So she would throw a rib steak into the broiler for him and some kind of vegetable, whatever. And he would be sitting there eating by himself. And I loved steak. And probably for dinner, I got something that I didn't like, because I didn't like a lot of food. And I would stand next to my father and look at the steak while he ate. And so he would cut a piece and give it to me. No, meals were not, the family. There was no such thing as the family meal. And we never went out to restaurants. Who could afford it? So we didn't. If we went to a restaurant, it was a big deal. And we went to Horn and Hardart, down in Manhattan. We would go the where you put a nickel in and
the automat.
The automat, you get a piece of pie. That
right.
was a big excursion, and it was once in every 5 years or something. So no, meals were not, they were not your family affair.
Right, so what was that like for you to join the family that we now are, where family dinner is something we always do when we're together, and going out to restaurants is a normal occurrence, and that I didn't grow up with anything different.
Well, that's because I married into your father's family, and that's a whole other story. Everything was about your father. Whenever we get together he gets together, always has to be a meal. Why is it okay? We just sit around and talk? It has to be a meal. And they ate out. I never ate out the way I did when I got involved with this family, mostly because Grandma couldn't cook. So she was not a good cook. So they would bring in Chinese, Italian. It was always food coming in, or we were going out to a restaurant. Any occasion to go to a restaurant once a week, whatever it is, was very alien to me, but I got into the swing of that pretty fast because,
it's nice.
Yeah. So, but even our family, before you came along, your brother and sister, I would feed them dinner. I would make dinner for us as a family. And Dad never joined us. He stayed at work late. The kids had to be fed. He would stay at work late. He'd come in when he wanted. When he showed up, it was
the same when I was a kid.
Yeah, and he would come home, and we had a heavy bag in the garage. He would come home and said, I'm working out. He'd go down and hit the heavy bag. Meanwhile, the kids had to eat. And this was the beginning of the end for me with, I would make dinner for all of us. He wouldn't eat it. I would eat his. So because I made it. Somebody's going to eat it. I'm eating it. And that wasn't a great...
But it was the same when I was growing up, because Dad didn't even live with us for 4 years.
Yes.
For a while.
When we moved to the country full time, Dad was still half a week in the city. He would come up for the weekends.
And we moved when I was 3, and I think he came up full time when I was 7. So there was several years where he just wasn't even there most of the time.
And when he did come up, we would go to a restaurant. He wanted he always wants to go out.
I mean, we went to Colonial at least once a week for those years.
For sure. Every week. But that's how he was raised. He was raised with not home cooking.
Right, but even when he was living with us full time and we would do dinner together every night, we never sat down at the table. It was TV tables and cereal and milk, every night.
It's how things evolved. It was too much to fight about everything. Some things just evolved the way they did, and that was our life.
Right. It's interesting. I think it conditioned me because now, when I cook myself dinner and then I sit down to eat, I have to have the TV on. Dinner without entertainment doesn't feel right in my body.
Yep. Not great. I am such a big supporter of family dinner, a time to sit down together and talk to each other.
Okay.
And it's something we didn't have growing up. I didn't have it in my family. Dad did not have it in his family. So when we came together from two different kinds of experiences, it didn't happen in our family either, from two different sides.
Right. But now it does. Anytime we're together, you cook these insane meals. We all sit down at the table. We all talk, Dad included. It absolutely has happened. It's become that way.
Right. Well, it's taken a lifetime to pull it together. It's taken a very long time because to me it's important.
Yeah. Okay, let's do one more from the book and then we can wrap up, because why does anyone else care about this besides me? This is just for me. This is for 30 years from now when I'm missing my dead mom and I can listen back to this. Okay, what's the best piece of advice you have ever received?
The best piece of advice was from a lifelong friend, from Judy. When Mara was getting ready to look for colleges, there was such competition. And all the moms were talking about, well, where is your daughter applying? And where is your daughter? Where's your son applying? And who's applying here? And who thinks they can get in there? And it was mind-boggling because I went to a city school. You know, you put in your application, you got accepted, you went to a city school. I lived at home. This was a big deal, going to away college. It was not part of my experience or my something I really understood. So I'm taking my cue from these other moms, and it's frantic about where is she going to apply? Where is she going to go? And Judy said to me, keep your ego out of this process. This is not about you and your ego, about where your child goes to college.
That must have been really great advice when I went to URI, my safety school.
But it was just stay out of it. And I didn't go with Mara to check out colleges. She made all her own. She took the reins. She decided she learned geography by looking around the country and checking out different schools and making arrangements. I paid for her flight. She and her friend went to check out that school. They went to check out that. She made her decision, and she got accepted to the school she wanted to go to. And when it was time for her to go, we drove her out to Iowa. So it really was, I think, one of the best pieces of advice I was ever given. I did get a little more involved in David's choice because he wasn't applying to the school that he was actually going to get into. So I said, you have to apply to that school. And he did. And he ended up having a very good...
Yeah, the school that he went to is like the number one in the SUNY system. It's a great school.
It was number one at the time. Maybe now it's two. I don't know. Yeah. I don't keep track. But he had a very good college, and they were wonderful. It was a great experience for him. So, and for you, we left it up to you.
Well, I didn't live at home.
Well, you were at boarding school, but still, it was up to you where you wanted to go to college. We did take you there to look at it because it was Rhode Island. It was fairly local.
You took me to Rhode Island and you took me to Hartford.
Yes.
To the University of Hartford. I did that tour. And then I was out in Phoenix and David took me to ASU. That was it. Those were the only 3 schools I visited. Oh, Emerson. You took me to Emerson.
Right.
Which I did not get into, which thank God I did not get into Emerson.
You didn't want to live in Boston?
No, I would have loved to have lived in Boston, but this is no shame to anyone who went to Emerson. I'm sure it's an excellent school. But I applied to Emerson in the film program. And if I had gotten accepted, I would have been, like, locked into this film program. Which, like, I was a film major at URI, and very quickly I realized I did not want to be doing that. So it was, like, for the best that I did not end up at a film school.
Or at Purchase. But
the Purchase also would have been a film school. I would have been locked into what I was doing. It was like, in retrospect, so lucky that is not where I ended up. Because I had the flexibility at URI. I added on the photography double major. It wasn't so overwhelming at URI, so I was able to get involved in Rocky Horror. And honestly, being involved in Rocky Horror there's a direct link between starting that and what I actually do now.
That was the advice that I think of, just step back from your children's choices and let them make their choice. Let them figure it out. And I think that's very valuable advice.
The best piece of advice I've ever gotten, in case you were wondering.
I was wondering, actually. Was it from me? No. All right.
No, the best piece of advice I've ever gotten was, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Maybe I should live on that for a while. I have to think about that one. No middle ground. No gray areas here.
And I think it's, like, there's obviously, I think, flexibility in any of these advice rules. But I do think that, especially with, like, dating, which is the context in which this advice was given to me, is, like, basically just to not settle. Like, if it's not you're all in on this person, don't, like, you can spend your time doing things that you really, really care about rather than, like, trying to build something in a relationship that you're not super sold on.
Well, I think that's good advice. If that's the way you use it. If that's the way you use it, yeah.
I think it can be applied also to, like, other things, too. Like, if I'm offered a job that I'm not 100% sold on, then, like, wait for the one that I am. Don't get locked in. I mean, I think the same thing applies to any of those schools I didn't get into because I was a terrible student in high school. Like,
you weren't a terrible student.
I was a C student in high school.
Well, you're my daughter.
Well, right, but at the time, you were the type of parent that, like, if I got a 95, you were mad it wasn't 100.
No, I didn't.
Oh, are you kidding me?
No,
all of elementary school was like, if I got a 95, like, you should have studied harder. Like,
no, I don't know where you're getting that from. That was never me. If you got an 85, I would get pissed, but not a 95.
No. It was like if I got an A, you were like, why not an A+? It's like A+ doesn't
Don't
exist.
do that, because that's not true.
That is true. Oh, you are just making stuff up now. You're just revising
that was
history.
Never. That was.
Yes, it was.
I don't know what world you live in, girl.
I don't know what
that
world
was
you live in. How dare you rewrite history like that? Wow.
You live in fantasy land. I don't know.
Anyway, getting a C was, like, you were gonna disown me. There was so much disappointment and anger if I got a C. No, but then in high school, I was a solid C student, and you were very upset. But then I found out that when you were in high school, you were a solid C student. And that was when I told you that you needed to stop talking to me.
No, I was a solid B-.
Okay. Fine. I was somewhere between a C and a B- in high school.
My brother and my sister were considered the brilliant ones, so I had to be the dumb one. That's just
I can relate to that. My brother and sister are Mensons. I am not.
You could be. If you only worked harder, if you only studied more, if you only tried harder.
But this is our running joke, is that you and I are the dumb ones in the family.
Mm-hmm. But we have the same IQ, actually.
I know. We're dumb with our IQ that's too low to get us into Mensa. Anyway, what's the worst advice you've ever gotten?
The worst advice I ever got was from my mother.
Was it when she told you to abort me?
No, she was one of the only people who was thrilled.
Told you not to abort me.
Right. No. My parents were concerned, but very much in this, supported it. Not everyone else was. But no, my parents were very much in support of that. No, the worst my mother made mistakes with all three of her children because, like I said before, she wanted a certain path for us. And when I was having issues in my marriage and could have used a support from my mother, an emotional support, I came to realize that Dad could have been a serial killer, but it would be a Jewish serial killer, so it was fine. Whatever he did, whatever ways I felt I was not okay through many, many years of marriage, she was totally unavailable to me for emotional support in any way, because she did not want my marriage to fall apart, because I was married to a Jew. And she liked his parents. They had a business. I won't go into specifics, but there was a moment where I actually needed her very much to be there for me and support me, and she did just the opposite. So it could have been very, very different in my marriage. Could have been a hell of a lot better if I had her support. It would have given me more strength to balance the relationship.
Okay, last question. If you could talk to that younger version of yourself in the early days of your marriage, what advice would you give yourself with everything that you know now?
Get the hell out. I'm so happy I lived through it because your dad and I are in such a good place. I cannot, in any way, shape, or form, imagine myself with someone else. Even when we were having all our problems, I never imagined myself with someone else. He was the love of my life, and he was the bane of my existence. You know, it was, at this point, we're so good. We survived each other, and we're in a really, really good place, which is not to say if I had gotten out when it was so painful that I wouldn't also have a wonderful life with someone else or with no one else. You know, just have a different kind of life. But we never really separated. We kept going through it, making each other crazy until we grew up, finally.
In your 60s?
Yes. Look, at this point, I'm 78. Dad is 79. I would say our marriage has been really wonderful for 9 years or more. 10 years?
10 years, probably.
Yeah, probably 10 years or so. It's been wonderful. I can't imagine I would have a better life today than I have. A more supportive, wonderful husband than I have. This guy, I could have custom ordered him.
So, okay, if anyone is listening that's in, I don't know, like year 10 of their marriage, and they're in that place that you were at year 10 of your marriage, and they're wondering if they see a future that could be as good as what you have now, they stick it out. Would you tell them to leave, or would you tell them to stick it out?
I wouldn't tell them anything. I think we actually, that is, your gut tells you stay or go. Even when I wanted out, I didn't go. You know, you're going to, and I wasn't an abused wife. I wasn't like, oh, I can't, that wasn't my experience. Was I emotionally, mentally abused? Probably. But I think I did that to him as well. I think we gave as good as we got. But that's something that I've spoken to other women who have chosen to get out of their marriages because of, we talk about red flags. We talk about, not seeing them, not acknowledging them, thinking they'll disappear, or you'll make them see the world differently or something. The way we stay in a marriage where things are not okay, your gut has to just tell you, you're done. I can't tell you how many times I said, I'm done. I don't need this shit. I'm done. But then I never went anywhere. I kept being unhappy, but stayed. So I have no advice on this to anyone who's going through a difficult marriage. You have to make that choice for yourself. But I would say, before you bail, make sure you're protected. Make sure you're okay, that you're not struggling to pay the rent, that you're not, that the person that you've counted on, I don't know what, everybody's situation's different. Some women are more financially independent. Some are very dependent on their husbands for their well-being. And then they choose to leave, and the husband becomes, vindictive, and you're going to starve and you're going to live on the street, and I'm going to take your children away because you can't take care of them. I mean, you have to know before you put yourself in danger and end up, because this is going to hurt your children. If you have children, one way or another, this is going to hurt your children, and you're going to hurt watching them hurt. So just make sure you'll be okay. Make sure you've got a real support system, that people will be there for you. They'll help you get through the rough spots. To try to do it without that, I can't even imagine.
That feels like a good natural place to wrap up, and hopefully we'll have a submission next month.
And if not, maybe I'll question you for an entire hour.
Okay.
And see where your head is
I'm
at.
sure there's versions of these books for daughter. We can find those.
Right, but I don't know that it's fair when you are in the stage of life when, for you at least, nothing is so fixed in terms of relationships, in terms of creating your own family besides your dogs. You're still working on your career. I'm not sure it's fair or, appropriate to delve into how you make decisions and, how your life is going, because I don't know that you've figured that out yet, that you've had enough experience to be ready to share your innermost workings. Because I'm talking about historical stuff. I'm talking about what I lived already.
Well,
you haven't lived long enough to have.
Yes, but at 32, I am confident that I know everything.
So. Oh, that's true. That's true. You probably do know everything. At 32, did I know everything?
No one knows everything ever. You didn't figure out your marriage till you were in your 60s. You don't know any. You don't. You still have stuff to figure out, and you're about to be 80. Like you never stop learning. Okay, let's call it, and I will hopefully see you in 2 days if we make it to our flights.
Yes. We'll keep talking till we get on that plane or whatever we end up doing. So, I love you.
Love you too.
I'm glad you were born.
Me too. All right. Talk to you later, Mama.
Bye, sweetheart.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Shain.
And this has been Listen to My Mother.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a positive review and subscribing to us on your favorite platform.
And if you'd like the chance to listen to my mother, head to the link in our show notes, which is currently bit.ly/listen to my submission. That's bit.ly/listen to my submission and submit your question.
No question is off limits.
And don't forget to follow our journey on Instagram at Listen to My Mother or at whatsthepoint.therapy.
Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.
Bye, Mama.
Bye, baby.